More information has surfaced about the arrest of Ruby Franke and Jodi Hildebrandt, and it's more serious than I could have ever imagined. The information being reported is truly shocking, and more family members are breaking their silence. Earlier, we talked about the shocking news of Ruby Franke from 8 Passengers and Jodi Hildebrandt from Connections being placed under arrest for 2 counts of child each. When the news first broke, we didn't really have much information. Sherry came out and said that they had been trying to get CPS and the police involved for years now, and she was just relieved it was finally happening. Sherry later came out on Instagram and asked people to help her sort through all the videos that could have evidence to help the case. She wrote, "I need your help. If you have links to any questionable or concerning Connections or 8 Passengers videos, please DM them to me. It's too much for me to sort through myself. More specifically, Connection stuff. We are aware of most of the 8 Passenger things already."
I'm not here to make her comfortable. Of course she can move classes, not because you said so, but because I said so. I'm the parent.
And I'm so happy to see that the snark Reddit for 8 Passengers has come through, and they've got to work putting together this extremely detailed list documenting every detail they feel would be necessary for this case. You can probably imagine just how shaken up Sherry is over all this, so I'm sure the last thing she needs right now is to be watching all these videos herself, so it's really great to see people stepping up and handling that for her. As for the rest of the extended family, they've all issued a joint statement reposted to all of their Instagrams, which says, "For the past 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jodi was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are safe now, which is the #1 priority." And that's really all that matters right now. The kids are safe, and it sounds like the state has custody of them, and they're getting them the help they need. It was also revealed by Fox 13 that Ruby is being held without bail. A lot of people assume that she would be out on bail instantly because she's a rich Utah mom, but that's not the case. Fox 13 reported on the news, writing, "Franke did not speak with police and instead requested a lawyer. She was ordered to be held without bail in the Washington County Jail. The Department of Child and Family Services was contacted, and in a joint effort with the Springville Police Department, 4 minor children were taken into the care of the Department of Child and Family Services." Now, this whole time I've had this sinking feeling that this was going to be so much more serious than any of us could ever picture. Multiple police from different levels don't show up armed to your house just for a quick CPS checkup. There was something serious going on here, and it's now been revealed what that was. Fox 13 reported on the news, writing, "Arresting documents detail that the arrest was made after a child climbed out of the window of an Ivins residence at around 10:50 a.m. Wednesday and ran to a neighbor's home for help. The home belonged to Jodi Hildebrandt, who was involved with a parent counseling service called Connections and was also arrested in relation to the case. The child knocked on the door and asked for food and water, but the neighbor noticed duct tape on the child's ankles and wrists and called the police, documents state. The calling party stated the juvenile appeared to be emaciated and malnourished, with open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. Police described the wounds, neglect, and malnourishment of the child to be severe, and the child was taken to the hospital for treatment. After the first child was taken to the hospital, another child was discovered in the home and was found to be malnourished as well, officers reported. A search warrant was obtained by police, and during the search of the home, evidence was located consistent with the markings found on the juvenile. Arresting documents state Franke was seen on a YouTube video filmed in the residence just days before the incident, which adds to Miss Franke being present in the home and having knowledge of malnourishment and neglect, documents state.
You are watching part 3 of a 4-part series we are doing all on victim. And we are going to be talking today about denigrating victim. So just as a real quick recap, victim means I drop my responsibility.
I literally have no words. We all had this feeling that something not right was going on in that house. We all knew Ruby and Kevin had this overly strict parenting style. We all knew Connections was bad news, and we all knew Jodi Hildebrandt was bad news. But I can honestly say I never, ever imagined it being this bad. I mean, this is something that you hear about out of a horror movie. And the fact that these kids were living like this, like I said, there's no words. As much as I'm happy that these kids are finally away from Ruby, I just wish this could have happened sooner before it got to this point. There's been countless petitions online for years now asking and begging CPS to look into the 8-passenger family. And when they finally did, they didn't find enough evidence to pursue anything. That was a few years ago now, so I don't even want to picture what those kids had to go through to get to this point. The police department also released a statement about the arrest, and it confirmed everything that's been reported. It states, on August 30th, 2023, around 10:50, a report came into our dispatch center regarding a juvenile asking for help. The calling party stated the juvenile appeared to be emaciated and malnourished, with open wounds and duct tape around the extremities. The juvenile was asking for food and water. The condition of the juvenile was so severe that they were seen by Santa Carla Ivans EMS and transported to a local area hospital. Information was obtained by police that the other juveniles in similar condition may be in a nearby home. Officers arrived at the home and searched the residence, locating another juvenile in a similar physical condition of malnourishment. The juvenile was also transported by EMS to the hospital for treatment. A search warrant was obtained in connection with this incident. During the search of the home, evidence was located consistent with the markings found on the juvenile. The Department of Child and Family Services was contacted, and in a joint effort with the Springville Police Department, 4 minor children were taken into the care of the Department of Child and Family Services. Jodi Hildebrandt and Ruby Franke were arrested in connection with the incident. Due to the sensitive nature of this case, no additional information will be released at this time. Eventually, the recording of the police scanner got released, and it paints a very upsetting scene.
12x11, 12x4, if you can back on a child. Repeat said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs, thirsty, asking for help, said he was afraid, asking for police. Devar, he gave the name of Franke, unknown date of birth, or he did give us the date of birth, but I'm not showing any relevance Spillman. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house. 10-4, break 12x11 and 17 to 10-14. The male does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why, and said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional regarding the child's health. I'm going to go ahead and have medical stage on this one. Or 17, sorry. The RP said that he left from a neighbor's of Jodi Hildebrandt in Ivans, 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the RP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Franke, unknown where she lives. 12x11, 12x17. I do have a Ruby Franke spelling with an E on the end of Franke, address out of Springville. Only involvement was a traffic offense a couple of days ago. He's also saying that there's 2 of his sisters are back at the home as well. RP and the Juve are going to be sitting out on the front porch. No visible weapons. The male is currently wearing a long sleeve and shorts. And medical's 23 as well.
10-4 ETA, 3 minutes, medical's in front of me. 12x511. Go ahead.
Hey, 314, the wounds on his leg are pretty good.
10-4.
12x17. 78 Bus.
Can you run a Rose Frank?
10-4. Confirming Rose Franke.
10-4.
12x511, 314, medical's gonna transport him. Said that his wounds are in need of immediate care.
Copy. Control, Tower. You show myself in 5 heading that way.
10-4. 12x11. I don't have any Rose Frankies coming back in Stillman or in Utah. I did find a Ruby Franke, which I sent to 12x11, showing an address out of Springville. However, only involvement is a traffic offense a couple days ago.
10-4.
Control 12x11 for your 14 as well. The child looks very emaciated.
17, this is 3. Will you just make sure that nothing happens until you get people there to look at what's going on?
4, you want medical to hold off to transport to the hospital?
We need to get some photographs first. Yeah, if he's alert and breathing, just hang out and wait for us, please.
After doing a little digging, it looks like that 27 I sent you for Ruby, Franke is going to be the one that is associated with the Jodi Hildebrandt. They're both showing as therapists from Salt Lake and associated through social media as well.
Copy. 12X1711, can you head over here to the road?
10-4.
Control 12X11, what's the address for that Jodi Hildebrandt?
Sorry, which address for Jodi?
Do you have an address for her in Kansas?
Yeah, 10-4, she's just a few streets up showing the address of.
Copy.
If mom really is Ruby, I threw her 21 in the call as well from her 27.
Control 12X11, does she have an address in Springville?
Yeah, 10-4, she's showing up in Salt Lake per her Facebook. Her and Jodi both are therapists showing addresses up or locations for their work up in Salt Lake as well.
Copy, 10-4, that's going to be the mom.
Looks like we did have an involvement with mom on the 25th of this month. It was a traffic offense in a white Honda. I'll send the 28 to your cat as well.
Control, about what time did this get called in?
The call was created at 11:02. 12X11, I think I may have found Dad, also a Kevin Franke address out of Springville.
Copy.
Just 1049 did run also a vehicle search on Jodi. She's showing a white Lexus ES sedan.
That's going to be there. She's was the one that pulled up next to me on the road. Control 12X11, can you hold there? We're searching the house.
Holman, you have 3 and 1 that are coming up behind you.
As for the dad, Kevin Franke, he finally broke his silence and issued a statement via his attorney. It sounds like he hasn't been arrested and he wants to try and keep custody of his children. The statement reads, Kevin's attorney, Randy S. Kester, told Page 6 Thursday that his client's urgent focus is simply to keep his children together under his fatherly care. I'm just surprised that he hasn't been arrested as well. He's their dad, and something tells me that he had to know something was going on. If it was a case where Ruby completely cut off contact with Kevin and didn't allow him to see the kids, surely he could have gotten a court order against Ruby and fought her for custody. There's just so many things to this story that aren't making sense, and if anything, I personally think the police should definitely be looking into just how much Kevin knew. I also fear for the parents who were getting advice from Ruby and Jodi. The fact that these people were handing out parenting advice and influencing parents to treat their children a certain way is terrifying to think about. I really think that every person who paid to get help from Jodi or genuinely wrote in for advice needs to be looked into and made sure they aren't following their ways. This whole situation goes so deep, and I'm just happy police stepped in before things got any further. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below, and as always, I'll keep you guys updated if anything comes out, but for now, that's all we know, and yeah, it's so much worse than I ever could have imagined, and it honestly makes me sick to my stomach. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.